Parts 1 and 2 are in the description. You need them first. This is the part with the chair, and the landlord's 5 words, and the footprints on the hallway floor. This is the part I've been building toward. This is where it ends. Let's finish this. Do you see them? He said. He did not look at me when he said it. He kept looking at the foot of my bed. My eyes went there without my permission. The basement was in its nighttime configuration, the layered darkness that I knew, the different depths of shadow that I had mapped. The thin line of light under the door at the top of the stairs, the faint residual glow from the street through the small window near the ceiling on the far wall. I looked at the foot of my bed. I looked for what felt like a very long time while my heartbeat did something slow and strange and deliberate, each beat arriving and departing with more space around it than usual, like my body was creating room for what was happening. And then I saw them. Feet. Small, bare feet on the industrial carpet. Pale. Not the paleness of skin under normal lighting, but a paleness that seemed to come from within them, a faint, cold luminescence that had no source I could identify. Just below the level of my mattress so that whatever existed above the ankles was in a darkness I could not penetrate, no matter how long I looked or how wide I opened my eyes. They were moving, not walking, not running. Shifting. The specific restless shifting of children who are standing still and cannot quite hold it. The unconscious transfer of weight from one foot to the other. The small adjustments. The movement of young bodies that were never meant to be still. I counted 6 feet, 3 pairs, small, shoeless, no sound. That was the thing that my brain kept returning to, kept presenting to me as if it couldn't process it and kept trying again. No sound. 3 pairs of small feet moving on industrial carpet and producing no sound. Not the shuffle of feet and socks. Not the slight pressure sound of weight on a floor. Not breathing. Not the small sounds that bodies make when they are present in a space. Nothing. Just the movement and the pale cold light of them and the dark above that I could not see into no matter how hard I tried. Danny got onto the mattress beside me. I don't remember him moving. I remember him not being beside me and then being beside me. We pressed our backs against the wall and the corner, my corner, the 2 walls at my back, and we sat there and we watched. We did not speak. There was nothing to say that the silence wasn't already saying more completely. We sat like that while the night happened around us, while the furnace cycled on and off, while the wind worked in the bare branches outside, while the thin line of light under the door at the top of the stairs held its steady, dim, orange presence. The feet shifted and adjusted and made their soundless motion. At some point, and I cannot tell you when, because I had lost my relationship with time as a linear thing, the foot of my bed was just the foot of my bed again. Just carpet and darkness and the ordinary shadows of ordinary things. I did not see them leave. They were there and then they were not, and I had missed the transition the same way I had missed it in the hallway on the 8th day. Danny and I sat against the wall until the line of light under the door changed from the orange of night to the gray of early morning. Until we heard my grandmother's footsteps upstairs, she was always first, had always been first. The habit of decades, and the chair scrape of my grandfather sitting down for his coffee. Then we went upstairs. We told our parents everything. I want to slow down for this moment, too. Not for the drama of it, but because I need you to understand what it means that we told them what we told them. And they heard it the way they heard it. We sat at the kitchen table. All the adults who were in the house. And that was 8 adults, 8 grown people who had between them approximately 300 years of lived experience and a collective skepticism toward things that could not be explained in ordinary terms. And Danny and I sat across from them, and we told our story. Same details, same counts. Same darkness above the feet. Same silence. And we had not spoken to each other between the basement and the kitchen table. We had walked upstairs in silence and sat down in silence and begun together, our voices finding the same story from the same memory. My father asked his questions. He was methodical. He was always methodical. It was the quality I most admired in him and most needed from him in that moment. He asked what we saw. He asked where exactly. He asked for measurements. How tall from the floor approximately? He asked how long it lasted. He asked if there had been sound. There had been no sound. When I said this, the kitchen went quiet in a different way than it had been quiet before. My grandmother, who had been sitting at the end of the table with both her hands wrapped around her coffee cup, the bandaged one and the whole one, looked up. She looked at me, and she said quietly, to no one in particular, and to everyone simultaneously, "I know." Just that. "I know." And then she looked back down at her coffee cup. Nobody asked her what she meant. I think we were all afraid of the answer. That night, my father moved a chair into the basement. A wooden chair with arms, one of the chairs from the kitchen table. He positioned it at the foot of my mattress, angled so he could see both the space in front of the bed and the stairs. He told me to try to sleep. I lay on my back and stared at the ceiling. I did not try to sleep. I listened to my father's breathing in the chair across the room. Steady, deliberate, controlled. The breathing of a man who has decided something and is committed to it. The house settled around us. The furnace cycled. The wind worked in the branches. At some point, I do not know the exact time, but it was deep in the night, the time when the night feels most like itself, most fully committed to being dark. I heard my father's breathing change. Not stop. Change. The rhythm shifted, became slower, more deliberate. The specific, controlled breathing of someone who has encountered something and is managing their response to it with everything they have. I did not move. I did not speak. I lay completely still and I breathed, and I listened to my father sit in that chair and hold himself together in the dark. It lasted, I think, like approximately 10 minutes. Then the breathing returned to normal. In the morning, my father drank his coffee standing up, looking out the kitchen window at the backyard. Then he picked up his phone and he called his brother. The call lasted 4 minutes and 12 seconds. I watched the clock on the microwave the entire time. He didn't say much. He listened mostly. Then he called the landlord. I was in the kitchen. I was supposed to be eating breakfast. I was not eating breakfast. My father told the landlord we were leaving, that we needed to discuss the deposit. The landlord answered on the second ring. He picked up as though he had been awake, as though he had been waiting. 3 seconds of silence after my father finished speaking. 3 seconds. And then, with no questions, no asking what had happened, no negotiating, no expressions of surprise or concern or the ordinary language of a landlord receiving unexpected news from a tenant, "I'll refund your deposit." 5 words: flat, calm, final. My father held the phone for a moment after the call ended. He looked at it. Then he set it on the counter carefully, the way you set something down when you want to be precise about where you leave it. He looked at my mother. "We're packing today," he said. We were out by the end of the week. We moved on a Saturday again. The symmetry of it, in on a Saturday, out on a Saturday, 8 weeks apart, was not something I noticed at the time. I noticed it later. I have thought about it many times since. The October air was fully committed by then. No ambiguity. Full cold. The kind that doesn't apologize or make gestures toward warmth. The trees on the street were bare. Every one of them, all the way down, their branches against the white sky and the specific, reaching configuration of trees that have given up everything they were holding. We worked fast. Faster than we had on moving day. The same boxes, the same furniture, the same coordination. But the rhythm was different. Purposeful in a way that moving day hadn't been. Charged. Nobody was looking at the house any more than they had to. Eyes on boxes, eyes on trucks, eyes on the driveway and the street and the sky. Anywhere but the windows. Anywhere but the front door standing open to the hallway, with its wrong smell and its worn carpet. I was the last one through. I was carrying a small box. My books from the school year, paperbacks with broken spines and pages I'd bent at the corners. I carried it down the hallway, through the front door, out onto the front step. I don't know why I stopped. I have no explanation for why I stopped. Every instinct I had developed in 8 weeks in that house was telling me to keep moving, to not look back, to walk down the driveway and get in the truck and not give the house anything more of my attention than I absolutely had to. I stopped. I turned around. I looked down the hallway. The hallway in the flat gray October light. The worn carpet, the closed doors, the linen closet at the far end. Empty. Just a hallway. And then my eyes adjusted. Or the light shifted. Or I understood something about how I was looking that I had been getting wrong. And I saw the floor. The afternoon light was coming through the back window at its low October angle. The angle that makes everything on a floor cast long shadows. And in that light, on the floor of the hallway, beginning somewhere near the kitchen doorway and moving toward me in a line. Footprints. Small. Pale. The specific impression of small bare feet in the thin layer of dust and residue that a hallway accumulates over 8 weeks of 11 people living in it. Not deeply pressed, lightly, gently. The way something leaves a mark when it is trying not to be noticed. 3 sets. Moving from the kitchen toward the front door. Toward where I was standing. I stood on that front step and I looked at those footprints and I counted them and I counted them again. And there were 3 sets of small bare feet and they ended approximately 6 inches from where my own feet were standing on the threshold. 6 inches from where I was. I closed the door. I walked down the driveway. I did not run. I would not give myself permission to run. I got into the back seat of the car between Danny and Maya. Maya was asleep against the window, her cheek pressed to the glass, her breath fogging it in a small circle that appeared and disappeared with each slow exhale. Danny looked at me. I looked at Danny. His face was the face of someone who has carried something and is very tired. We drove away from the house on Delray Street. I watched it through the back window until we turned the corner and it was gone. We never went back. My grandmother's finger grew back imperfectly. The tip of her index finger, the nail sits slightly crooked now, has sat slightly crooked since that October. A ridge that wasn't there before, a small permanent asymmetry in something that was symmetrical before. She never spoke about the greater, not once. Not to me, not to anyone I know of. In all the years between that afternoon and the morning she died in her own bed in her own house, surrounded by people who loved her, I waited. I thought she would tell me someday. When I was older, when I could receive it properly. I was wrong, but sometimes, not often, but sometimes in the years when I was old enough to visit on my own and sit in her kitchen and drink her coffee, she would be doing something ordinary at the counter and she would pause. Just pause. And she would look at her hands, both of them, the crooked nail on the left and the whole fingers on the right. She would look at them for a moment the way you look at something you are relieved to still have. And then she would go back to what she was doing. 3 years ago, I searched the address. It took me a long time to type it. My hands did something when I began, something I can only describe as resistance. A physical reluctance that wasn't mine exactly, that came from somewhere below decision-making and choice. I typed it slowly and I searched it and I found what I was looking for. The house on Delray Street. Still there. Same beige siding the color of old bone. Same driveway, same diagonal crack. Rented 11 times in 14 years. Every tenancy between 2 months and 8 months. Every departure recorded in the rental history as early termination. Not a single lease completed, not one. No reviews, no explanations in any public record. Nothing that would tell you if you were looking for a large, affordable house with immediate availability, why 11 different families or groups had moved in and left before their time was up. The house is currently listed as available. The rent is reasonable. The listing says it's perfect for a large family or a group. It says it's available immediately. And if you move in, if you find yourself walking down the second floor hallway at midnight, and you feel your body stop before your mind decides to stop, don't take another step toward the far end. Don't try to see it more clearly. Go back to your room, get into your bed, press your back against the wall and put your knees up and wait for morning. And whatever happens, whatever you see at the foot of your bed in the dark, do not count them. Because the moment you count them, they know you can see them. And that changes what happens next in ways I am not willing to put into words. I sleep with the full overhead light on every night, without exception. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes, in the deepest part of the night when the house is quiet and my wife is asleep and I am lying there in the light that I need, I hear something. Faint. from somewhere I can't locate. Small feet, shifting, waiting, and I do not count. I do not count. I just wait for morning, and I leave the light on.